delicious, invigorating.
Joining us live from home, believe it or not, guys, he's home for a change. The one, the only, the recent winner from Toledo Bend, Kevin VanDam. Kevin!
KVD.
Man, you guys are something. I was on the way home from the grocery store and listening to you guys, and oh man, you bring back a lot of memories, man.
Let me jump right into it, Kevin, because we're not going to keep you all night. I know you got a lot of things going on. Here's the obvious one I want to hit you with, and I know you've probably been asked this one before, but I want to know personally. Man, very impressive win at Toledo. I got to see it. I got to watch on that final day live. Where does that one rank? Man, you've done it all. You've won everything. You've been in the sport. I don't know what else you could freaking do. But then you win again. Where does this one rank? Does this one rank up there in the middle, at the bottom?
No, it's at the top, and you of all people know that because you've been around a long time and you've had a lot of success too. And I think at times you may take it for granted, but in this day and age, and you know it because you live it every day just the same as me out there, that it's hard to win anymore with everything that's going on and the level of competition that's there. So when you get an opportunity to be in contention going into the final day, it's a big deal. I mean, making the top 12 is a big deal. And, you know, to be able to have everything come together, you know, it's special because you don't know. I mean, I don't care who you are or what kind of streak you're on, and we've seen it. You know, you've watched a bunch of guys get on those kind of runs. Zona, you have too. We all have. You just don't. You can't turn that on and off, and you don't know when it's going to happen again. But you know, in my mind, it's crazy because after the fact, like I had like 300 text messages. I didn't realize that I was that far gone at that point. Well, in my mind, I you know, still thought I was you know, in the game pretty well, but apparently a lot of people had written me off at that point by the text messages I got.
They had, and it's a great segue. And Zona, I want to get you in on this too, dude. So I don't know that I don't want to sound weird and nothing about this, but I creep on a lot of other guys' social sites just because I like to. I go on your social site. Kevin, I watch yours. And, dude, it's amazing how many freaking haters, like, instantly turned on you, Kevin, the last couple of years. Like, you know, Kevin who? You know, like, oh, he's done. And I got to ask you, because I deal with it. Z deals with it. Does that bother you? Does that eat you up? Do you feel? Do you want to just give him the middle finger? Do you want to? You know what I mean? Like how?
Or do you feed off of that? Does that fuel you?
Well, I don't pay. Honestly, I don't pay attention to it. I've learned you can't. You know, because that's the worst thing about social media is it gives people a platform to speak their voice when they're just being nutso. And I mean, you've seen that plenty of times too. And it's not the majority; it's the minority. And yeah, I mean, I hate. It bothers me when anybody says anything bad. You know, one thing I can say about you, Mike, and you've seen me too. I mean, usually we're one of the last two people at a weigh-in signing autographs with kids and things like that. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things I've always appreciated about what you've done. And people can say a lot of things, but we're very passionate about what we do. I know I fished with you like in the very beginning. You know, we fished at Bugs Island that time when you were just starting out, and I knew right then. I mean, I could tell that you had that it factor that that it takes to do well out here. You have to give it 180%. Yeah. You have to love it. I know where I know your background. Zona's the same way. I mean, you grew up in the south side of Chicago. You grew up in the city. I mean, fishing is, your life. I mean, that's all Zona wants to do when he's home. He fishes more than you or I both do.
Easy, little cowboy. I'm jealous of that.
Easy. But it's funny how I can say that all three of us are a lot more alike than you would ever imagine in that. I mean, when I grew up, I went to my grandparents' every summer I stay there. I fish from dawn till dark. My grandma had to ring a bell just to get me to come to eat lunch. You know, I mean, it's just you're either born with it or you're not.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes at this level. And you know, I've been doing it a long time. You've been doing it a long time, and we're very passionate about it. And you know, people can say what they want to say at times and all that, but the one thing that I appreciate is I appreciate that pure passion. Whether it's Mike Iaconelli or Mark Zona or Kevin VanDam or Greg Hackney or Aaron Martins, everybody's different and unique in their own way, and it's so tough to win at the top level in the Bassmasters anymore. I mean, that's why everybody wants to be there. I mean, we've got this mass exodus from the FLW Tour every year, and the Opens are packed full, and college fishing is huge. You know, my kids are. They're graduating this week, and I mean that's their thinking right now. They're like, oh, it's college fishing, and you know, it's amazing to see how the sport has changed and grown. And I'm just glad to be a part of what I think is, you know, the best era in professional bass fishing.
Same way, Beck. I see you getting antsy back there. Do we have IMs coming through? I'm sure it's lighting up. Do you want to shoot a couple to Kevin real quick?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that you guys touched on and now seems to be a very interesting topic on IM is all about age, and if you guys feel like you're still as aggressive as you were as an angler, 10, 15 years ago, and how long do you think that can hold? That was a conglomeration of about 5 IMs in one. That's
a good question.
Mike, I'll let you hit that first, and then I'm going to tell you my take on it.
Yeah, I can tell you this. In my mind, I don't fish any different or feel any different than I did when I drew you, Kevin, at Bugs Island. I feel the same. But let me step back and tell you that, and I'm not a psychologist. I'm far from that. In fact, I'm the patient. I think somewhere deep in your mind, right, when you've won a lot of when you've done a lot of the accomplishments you wanted to do, you've had a lot of you had goals and you've accomplished them. I think somewhere deep down in your psyche, you might not want it as bad, and that's just a guess.
You lay up a little.
You lay up a little bit, and I think that's human nature, right?
I would say, and Mike, you say you'll understand this too. I mean, the more experience that you have, the more you get set in your ways, and the more hard-headed you get about, when you show up to Toledo Bend at this time of year, Gunnersville in March, or Wheeler, or wherever it is, places you've been, the more history you have, the harder it is to keep a solid, a true open mind.
Yeah.
When I was younger and, less experienced, I didn't know any better. You just show up and do what you do and fish your strengths and really understand the conditions and fish in the now. I mean, we've all said it a million times, and I think it's hard. I mean, experience is a great thing because when you use it properly, it can really be helpful, but it can also hurt you. And I've had that happen, and I think that's part of the reason why, in the last few years that I've had some inconsistency. I want to win, and I take big chances, and sometimes when you do that, you're going to end up with big failures. I mean, you're going to miss the mark by a while just because you're so hard-headed, and the guys are so good now that you have to allow time for a pattern to develop or, things to happen, and then it's too late, and you can't come back. I mean, the level of competition is definitely a lot higher than it was even 3 or 4 years ago in that sense, and you just can't make those mistakes. And the difference in a few lost fish, and I guarantee you can look back at this season, and a lot of these events are really, really close, and it's just 1 or 2 missed opportunities here, and it's a big difference of where you're at in the points.
Huge.
Because I promise you that's the way it's been for me.
Yeah.
And that's just the way that it is now. And, it's good, bad, or indifferent. Because the sport's growing, the competition's growing, and it's no different than the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA. I mean, you've got to be really good every night, every day, to be at the top of the game. Otherwise, it's going to show. I mean, it's just the way that it is.
You know, this is my honest opinion, Kevin, and hear me out on this, is that the culture, I'm not saying it's not like incidents here and there. The entire culture of bass fishing fans is changing, and it has been changing in the last 5 years. I can tell you this. Every tournament that I've fished this year, I've dealt with more locals fishing around me, fishing as I'm fishing in the same spot, fishing after I leave, aggressive, you know, and I'm not talking about, an old retired guy that lives on the lake or a guy fishing with his kids. I'm talking about a dude by himself in a rat boat, a dude with a tournament jersey on by himself.
On a Thursday.
I believe the culture of the fishing fan is changing. You know, we talked about all the positives of the advancement of the sport, and there's a lot, but that's a big negative. Do you think that's happening? Do you think the culture of the fishing fan is changing, and they think it's okay to be out there fishing on the same day as a national tournament?
Well, you know what? It's public water, and everybody has the right to be out there for sure. But you know, there's always that guy, and I've got a ton of fans that they're out there just trying to root you on. But there's some that, you know, and you see it on social media too. There's some that are out there trying to maybe hurt you too. And I thought that live really was going to change that. I think it's because the live coverage is so good. You're better off if you want to learn. You're better off to watch Bassmaster live than you are to be out there in the water 50 yards away. You can see more on live than you can then. But
that's a good point.
There are those people out there, and it's just like anything else. You know, it only takes one bad apple to spoil the whole
that's,
whole bushel.
That's what really upsets me, though.
You know, there's lots of times when you're out there fishing, and it's a spot that they've fished before, but you know as well as I do that there's a ton of them that they're following you to steal your spots. They're trying to learn the lake. They're trying to, especially on these structured tournaments where it's offshore. I mean, we see it at Gunnersville, Kentucky Lake, Toledo, places like that all the time. And you know, Sherry tries to keep me grounded well at night. You know, I talk about it at night, and I'm like, hey, this is going on. I'm concerned about it. And it was a big concern last week there, but the thing that I've always tried to do is, I mean, you manage it the best you can. I've always said this, you got to worry about the variables you can control and put the ones you can't control out of your mind. That being said, you have to be aware of that. I mean, I know that I have to save extra places when I go to tournaments like that.
Yeah.
That, you know, that I got to have for Saturday or Sunday. And a lot of times you can't. Like at Toledo this time, I mean, it was so rough in practice. You couldn't practice the way I was fishing. You just couldn't even idle out there without your boat bouncing around and waves over the front. I mean, your electronics didn't give you a great reading because it was so rough. And that probably helped me because the field didn't get to fish that way.
Right.
But on the weekend, man, the pressure on the water, it's challenging. It's something that you have to deal with now that. It's not fun for sure, but it's part of it.
Would you agree
I don't
though?
know the answer.
Would you agree though that if you're a true fan of professional bass fishing, that you wouldn't be fishing out there on the same day as the league? Would you agree with that?
The true fans aren't.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Kevin VanDam, everybody.
Have a great night.
You too.
Beautiful.
Hot, hearty, delicious.